My name is Emily Carter, and this is the story of the night everything in my life shifted. It was an ordinary evening in Dallas, Texas, but what started as something simple ended up uncovering truths about me, my family, and the strength it takes to accept who you really are. I grew up in a warm but complicated household. My parents, Michael and Laura Carter, always did their best to give my younger brother, Ethan, and me a good life. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. My dad worked as a firefighter, and my mom was a high school teacher. We were the kind of family who ate dinner together at the table every night, who celebrated birthdays with homemade cakes, and who made time for Sunday afternoon walks. From the outside, we looked picture perfect, but deep inside, I was carrying something I never thought my family could understand. I was 21 at the time, a college student majoring in psychology, living at home while saving up money. My best friend, Daniel Matthews, was practically family himself. He grew up a few blocks away, and we had been inseparable since elementary school. He had that kind of charm that made people trust him. Dark brown hair, bright hazel eyes, and a smile that could calm anyone. My parents trusted him. Ethan looked up to him, and to me, he was more than just a friend. He was the only person I ever felt safe with. That night, Daniel came over to study with me. Finals were approaching, and the pressure was suffocating. We spread our books across the dining table, chugged coffee, and quizzed each other on theories and definitions. Hours passed, and soon it was past midnight. My parents were asleep, and Ethan had gone to bed after a video game marathon. The house was quiet, except for the scratching of pens and the soft hum of the fridge in the kitchen. At some point, Daniel leaned back in his chair and rubbed his eyes. "Emily, I'm exhausted. Do you mind if I crash here tonight? I don't feel safe driving back this late." I hesitated for only a second before nodding. Daniel had stayed over before, on the couch, in the guest room, even once in Ethan's room when we were kids. It wasn't strange, at least not to anyone else. But for me, the idea of him staying the night brought a weight I couldn't quite name. I got him some blankets and a pillow for the couch. He thanked me, gave me a tired smile, and lay down. I lingered for a moment, watching his chest rise and fall, before retreating to my room. Sleep didn't come easily, though. My mind was racing. There was something inside me I had never shared with anyone. Not my parents, not Ethan, not even Daniel. It was a secret that ate at me every single day. At around 3 in the morning, I heard movement in the living room. I stepped out quietly and saw Daniel sitting up on the couch, staring at his phone, his face tense. "Can't sleep," I whispered. He looked up and shook his head. "Nah, just thinking too much." I sat down across from him. For a while, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was heavy, full of things unsaid. Then Daniel glanced at me with that look, the one that always made me feel like he could see right through me. "Emily, is there something you've been holding back?" he asked softly. My heart skipped. It was like he had read my thoughts. I wanted to laugh it off, but instead, tears filled my eyes. I hadn't planned to tell him, not then, not ever, but something about the stillness of the night and his quiet presence pushed me to break. "Yes," I whispered. "There's something about me, something I've been too scared to tell anyone." His voice was steady. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" I nodded, took a deep breath, and finally said it. "Daniel, I'm adopted." The words hung in the air like thunder. Daniel didn't move. He just stared at me, letting me cry and stumble through my explanation. I told him how I had found the truth a year ago, by accident. I had been digging through an old filing cabinet looking for my birth certificate for a college application when I noticed paperwork, sealed adoption forms, letters, and medical history that didn't match my parents. It shattered me. I hadn't told anyone, not even my mom and dad. I didn't know if they had ever planned to tell me, or if it was meant to be hidden forever. And I didn't know what scared me more, the truth itself or the possibility that the people I had called mom and dad all my life weren't really mine by blood. Daniel listened quietly, his face unreadable. When I finished, he finally spoke. "Emily, this doesn't change who you are. You're still you. And your family, they're still your family. But what if they don't see me the same way?" I whispered. What if I'm just some replacement for the child they never had?" Daniel leaned forward. "No, you're not a replacement. You're their daughter because they chose you. Blood doesn't define love, Emily. They raised you, cared for you, loved you every single day. That's what makes family. I sobbed harder, not out of sadness, but out of the weight lifting off my shoulders. For the first time since I discovered the truth, I didn't feel completely alone. Daniel didn't judge me. He didn't look at me differently. Instead, he reminded me that my worth wasn't tied to my biology. But what I didn't know was that his words would soon be tested in ways neither of us expected. The next morning, over breakfast, I broke. My parents sat across from me, sipping their coffee, reading the paper, Ethan munching on cereal. I stared at them, my chest tightening. Then, with Daniel's voice still echoing in my mind, I spoke. Mom. Dad. I know the truth. I know I'm adopted. The room went silent. My mom's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. My dad set down the paper slowly. Ethan stopped chewing. For a long moment, no one said anything. Then my mom's eyes filled with tears. She set her cup down and reached across the table for my hand. Emily, she whispered. We wanted to tell you. We planned to, but the right time never came. And then, we just got scared. We were afraid you'd think it meant we loved you any less. My dad nodded, his voice thick. You're our daughter, Emily. Nothing changes that. From the moment we held you in our arms, you were ours. We didn't need to share DNA to know that. I cried openly, my whole body trembling. Ethan finally spoke, his voice shaky but determined. You're my sister. Always have been, always will be. That's all that matters. It was messy. It was emotional. But it was real. For the first time, the secret was out, and instead of rejection, I found love stronger than ever before. Daniel stayed by my side through all of it. He was there when my parents showed me letters from my birth mother, explaining her reasons. She had been young, barely 18, scared and without support. She wanted me to have a chance at a better life. My parents had stepped in, not because they were desperate, but because they had love to give. Over the following weeks, I struggled with waves of anger, sadness, and confusion. But through it all, my family held me close. And Daniel reminded me that I wasn't broken, that my story wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was something that made me strong. The night he stayed over changed everything because it forced me to face the truth I had been burying. It uncovered pain, yes, but it also revealed the depth of love that had been around me all along. Years later, when I look back, I realized that night was the beginning of healing. It was the moment I learned that family isn't defined by blood, but by the love and choice that bind us together.